Hey everyone, this is the Captain, and welcome to Fight Talk. It's another new name we're coming up with. We're gonna, do a couple new ones every video that I come up with, and I'll probably narrow it down at some point. But we're trying stuff here, and we're seeing where everything goes, and we'll go from there. We got lots of stuff to talk about. Let's just jump right into it. It was kind of a crazy day because McGregor announced that he was retiring again for the second time. The guy knows how to get on the TV. He knows how to get into people's heads. He knows how to sell himself beyond what I've ever seen before. Like, the guy is just some next level, he's so good at attracting attention. No matter if he's winning or losing or, jumping cages or whatever, the guy is just successful in anything that he does. Like, honestly, anything that he does, he's successful in. If he wants to put a dolly through a bus, you better guarantee he's doing that. If he's hopping a cage and pushing a ref in another, industry, he's doing it. If he's retiring and selling whiskey, he's going to be good at it. The guy's good at whatever he touches. I do think that this is a little bit of him just trying to work what he's got, but it doesn't seem that Dana seems to be kind of reaching and grabbing onto what Conor's letting go at this point. He's fishing for some stuff. Conor is doing really successful with his whiskey, and he's made so much money fighting now that the retirement part of this whole thing, it does make sense. If he's not interested in fighting anymore, he's at that spot where if he wanted to leave and come back in a year or two or whatever and fight nobodies and make a lot of money, he's going to get pay-per-view buys no matter what. I just don't think that he's a guy that's ever really had the passion that he grew. It was all about the money, so his name fit the agenda perfectly. He's notorious. He's Mystic Mac. He's everything that he's trying to put out, and he's phenomenal at it. And whatever he does, or whatever this is, it's probably planned when it comes to him, because he's methodical when it comes to this stuff. In MMA, in his last 4 fights, he's 2 for 4. Okay, so he's lost 2 of his last 4 MMA fights. You could argue that he lost 3 of those 4, the second Diaz fight. So you could argue that in his last 5 professional fight bouts, so including boxing, he lost to Mayweather. Now, that's Floyd, so I mean, that's not too much of a bad thing. But again, in his last 5 fights, he's lost 3 times, arguably 4 times, sorry. So I don't think he's really in the position to be saying, like, hey, I deserve UFC stock for fighting, or hey, if you don't give me what I want, then I'm not going to fight for you. Like, if you want to make money, dude, that's one thing, but it's completely different when you're not putting up the proper, like, mixed martial arts is a business, but at the end of the day, it's also about the art itself, and if you're not pushing out the best art, and not just all about the talking, then you really don't deserve that. We don't need to see Chael Sonnen, again, in that aspect. If you want to be a presenter and hype fights up all the time that you're not involved with, go for it. Moving on, we got the who should be challenging for the light heavyweight title, and what we should be doing with the bantamweight title now that TJ Dillashaw has officially relinquished the title now. It's officially off of him. Now, the light heavyweight division is kind of an odd thing. You got Reyes, you got Santos, who are 2 guys that probably deserve to be up there. In terms of title contention, it's a little bit weird, though, because Jones is beating Gustafsson now. He beat Anthony Johnson, and those are not Anthony Johnson, Anthony Smith. And those are guys who aren't going to get another title shot right away. Another guy who people got to look out for is Johnny Walker. He moved himself up to the 13th spot. He's a big guy. He's like 6'4", just like Jones, and he's really flashy, and he's really strong, and he's really good. So I'd like to see Walker get a good top contender fight, maybe like versus Gustafsson, or maybe Reyes, and maybe Santos gets the title shot, because Santos is coming off of a big win in a light heavyweight division that's kind of in a weird spot. So it'll be interesting to see who they pick. But I do think that for my money's worth, I would say that Santos is probably the best pick, because I don't think Reyes is as good as he seems. I think that he's got a lot of work to do in a lot of areas, and he kind of climbed up to the spot in the rankings in kind of odd form. So going over to bantamweight, it's a tough thing, because you got Cejudo, who could move up and, you know, kill the flyweight division, which the UFC is trying to do. You have Lineker, who's on in his last 9 fights. Lineker has won 8 of them. He's 28 years old. He's a 39-fight vet, and he just knocked out Brian Kelleher, which is a good guy in the division. That guy's a good fighter. So Lineker is a guy who's probably should be in the discussion, because he was about to fight Dominic Cruz before he got injured. So Lineker is maybe a good choice to fight Cejudo. Or you got Moraes, who is the one who deserved the title shot in the first place, or had earned a title shot after or against TJ in the first place. So I mean, it's a weird thing there. You know, you could go with Cruz, Cejudo. You could go, if Cruz is able to even come back. I really hope that he is. He's one of my favorites. But you also have Lineker, who's a great option. So we'll have to see how that goes. Fight Night 148. I made the predictions in my last video. Boy, was I wrong. I was wrong about four of the fights. They like all went differently than I said. Like almost the complete opposite. I was calling knockouts for the other people, and we were getting, you know, full 3-round slow decisions, and I was pretty upset that those were the results, but, you know, what can you do? The 2 that I called right were Formiga and Pena, which is violent Bob Ross, and he actually didn't even score the knockout. He got a decision, a slow decision, you know, he just, you know, picked away at it like an old point fighter. Then Pettis, he had the craziest Superman hook knockout that, you know, you're ever going to see. It was crazy. He was getting dummied, and Stephen Thompson was doing what Stephen Thompson does, and he just got clipped, and he went out. The dude went out, but again, in my last video, I said that the age and the weight cuts are getting weird, and I said that Thompson should be up to middleweight, because these weight cuts are too much. They're starting to get really, really weird, and I think that the UFC needs to be the first company to make a 5-pound day of weight limit. And what that means is that if a fighter is cutting weight, they need to be within the 5-pound weight limit the day of the fight. So show up at the arena at whatever, 3 p.m., 4 p.m. when you get there. You need to be at least 5 pounds in between where the weight should be. And that will make it so people aren't cutting as much weight, because all it's doing is people are dropping 30 pounds and they're getting knocked out, and it's bad for their livers, and we're not really seeing the full-fledged competition of where these fighters should be. Yes, weight cutting is important when you get up to heavyweight fighting, because, you know, a lot of those big heavyweight guys, they're like 280 pounds and 300 pounds. Yeah, it's okay. You know, I can understand you dropping, you know, 20 pounds, because if you're a fighter, you should have been doing some sort of weight cutting for a long time at this point. So I would like to see the UFC really make a move on those weight cuts and banning them, because it's just bad. They've already banned IVs and it's slowed down the weight cutting, but I think that they need to do it more, because these guys, you know, they're human beings at the end of the day. They're athletes, they're human beings, and they need to protect themselves and their bodies. And when you're cutting, you know, 15, 20 pounds off your body just to fight, and you're getting knocked out, you know, because your chin's not all there, it's not good. Like we saw it happen with Poirier before, lots of guys, but it happened with Poirier and McGregor, where McGregor knocked him out with just like a weird slap in the back of the head. You know, you got Pettis knocking out Stephen Thompson. You got Dillashaw getting knocked out. You got Santos lost to David Branch, like what, last year or 2 years ago, before he came back up to light heavyweight, which is his natural weight class. And, you know, he got knocked out by David Branch. David Branch isn't a guy who knocks people out. You know, he's a wrestler, and he landed a nice hook and put Santos to sleep. And that's what happens when you're doing these weight cuts, man, because you're just exhausted, you know, absolutely exhausted. Like, you saw the images of people before, like Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor walks around 170 pounds. When he cuts to 145, he looks like Skeletor. Like, it's absolutely disgusting. So something definitely needs to get done. I'm trying to not make this an 18-minute video like last time, but, you know, we're moving along. We're going to the last piece right here. We're going to do the UFC on ESPN 2 predictions. So we got Sodiq Yusuff versus Shayman Moraes. It's probably going to be a wrestling decision for Yusuff. He's a good fighter. They're both decent. They're both fresh, new guys. You know, so nothing spectacular. It's just some comeuppance for some young guys that are trying it out here. Then you got Kennedy Zechekwa. I forget how you pronounce his name. I think it's Zechekwa versus Paul Craig. Paul Craig's actually more of a vet than a lot of people know. He fought all over before. 20-fight vet, but I think it's only his second or third UFC fight. Zechekwa, though, he's on his 6th fight. He's completely undefeated, and the dude is a big man. He has like an 80... He has a big reach. I forget how much it is, but he's got a long reach. And he's got some punching power and some kicking power. And Black Ken's probably going to get the knockout. Then we got Carolina versus Michelle Waterson. That fight, I mean, I love both girls. Like, they're both just awesome fighters, you know, good people. When Carolina got knocked out in her last fight, that was like it was almost upsetting to watch because, you know, she's just a nice person. So it was upsetting to watch. I don't think that Carolina is going to be able to beat Michelle in the stand-up game. I think that they're both good stand-up artists that you're not going to see a knockout like that. It's rare for girls to really get knockouts, and Michelle Waterson does have a good ground game, and Carolina tends to be a point Muay Thai style fighter. You know, she's got all that history with Joanna Jędrzejczyk, so I do think Michelle Waterson is probably going to win by decision or a submission, you know, late in the fight. Then you got Josh Emmett versus Michael Johnson. I think that Emmett's probably going to get the TKO in the early or late first round, early second round. Michael Johnson is a fast starter. He likes to start the first 2-3 minutes of the fight really throwing heat at people, and he's got fast hands. He doesn't really go to wrestling anymore. I don't know why. He was successful on The Ultimate Fighter doing that. He won The Ultimate Fighter doing stuff like that. I don't know why he ever stopped. He just, you know, he got brash thinking that his hands were better than they are, you know, and some people got it, some people don't, you know. Then you got David Branch versus Jack Hermanson. Branch is probably going to eke out a decision by grappling and, you know, ground and pound and all that nice stuff. Probably a nice slow decision. I'm saying slow, but it's just because I don't. That ground fighting is really like people like MMA and people like fighting and people like knockouts and people like certain things. I do enjoy grappling, but watching grappling for a lot of people can be slower, and it will come across as a slow thing. So you have to watch out for that. Lastly, you got Barboza versus Gaethje. It's a tough call because Gaethje and Barboza are both machines. They're both animals. Gaethje is a tough guy, and Barboza is one of those dudes who's going to attack you from every angle with absolutely everything he has, with heavy leg kicks, and Gaethje absorbs damage. So the fight's going to go one of two ways. Either Gaethje is going to win later on in the fight once Barboza inevitably tires out if he can't put Gaethje away, or Barboza is going to get to him in the late first round, early second round, maybe closer to the end of the second round, when he starts teeing off with certain shots depending on how effective he is. Gaethje's a surprising fighter. It could end quick for both. It could end late for both. It could go to decision. Who knows? That's everything for today. We're going to come back tomorrow with more stuff because there's lots of stuff I want to talk about. And I just want to thank everybody for coming by. Don't forget to subscribe and like and comment and all that good stuff. Thanks.